Students, I'm going to explain Unit 51 in Grammar in Use written by Raymond Murphy. The topic is auxiliary verbs. According to Section A, auxiliary verbs are helping verbs. They help to form tenses, moods and voices in a language. There are two types of auxiliary verbs in English language. The first type is primary auxiliary verbs such as be, do and have. The second type is modal auxiliary verbs such as can, could, may, might, must, shall, should, will, would and etc. Children, here are some examples. The first example is I have lost my keys. In this sentence, have is the auxiliary verb and lost is the main verb. The second example is she is reading an interesting book. In this sentence, is the auxiliary verb and reading is the main verb. The third example is they are studying hard. In this sentence, are is the auxiliary verb and studying is the main verb. The fourth sentence is Jane can play the piano. In this sentence, we find can as the auxiliary verb and play as the main verb. The fifth example, we should obey our elders. Here we find should as the auxiliary verb and obey as the main verb. Children, we use auxiliary verbs when we do not want to repeat something. The first example question is, have you locked the door? The answer is, yes, I have. In the answer, yes, I have is the auxiliary verb. Yes, I have refers to, yes, I have locked the door. Without repeating that, we can use only the subject and the auxiliary verb. The second example is, she could pass the exam but she didn't. In the last part of the sentence, but she didn't is the negative form of the auxiliary verb did. But she didn't refers to, but she didn't pass the exam. Without repeating that line, we can use only the subject and the auxiliary verb. We use do or does auxiliary verbs for the present. We use do with plural subjects and does with singular subjects. The auxiliary verb did is used for the past. We can use auxiliary verbs to deny what somebody says or to say what somebody says is not true. Look at this short dialogue. A said, "You are sitting in my place." B said, "No, I am not." No, I am not refers to, no, I am not sitting in your place. Through this, B has denied what A said. According to Section B, we use auxiliary verb followed by the subject to show interest in what somebody has said or to show surprise. The first example is A said, "I have just seen Stephen." B asked, "Oh, have you?" In this line, have is the auxiliary verb and you is the subject. The second example is A said, "James and Tanya are getting married." B asked, "Are they?" In this line, are is the auxiliary verb and they is the subject. According to section C, when we use an auxiliary verb with so or neither, auxiliary verb comes before the subject. The first example is A said, I am tired. B said, so am I. So am I means I am tired too. In the answer, so am I, am is the auxiliary verb and I is the subject. The second example is A said, I never read newspapers. B said, neither do I. Neither do I means I never read newspapers either. Here we find the auxiliary verb do and the subject I. Children, it is important to note that neither is similar to not plus either. According to section D, we use the structures I think so, I guess so, I hope so, and etc. when we do not want to repeat something. For an example, A asked, are those people Korean? B said, I think so. That means, I think they are Korean. The negative forms of I think so and I expect so are I don't think so and I don't expect so. The negative forms of I hope so, I'm afraid so, and I guess so are I hope not, I'm afraid not, and I guess not. The negative form of I suppose so can be either I don't suppose so or I suppose not. Students, this is the end of the explanation of this unit. Thank you and God bless you.